I heard you guys have been hearing about love languages tonight.
Yes.
Feeling pretty confident that you know all about it, so I can go home now? Just to give you a little context on who I am, as she said, a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm actually licensed in 4 states, Maryland, Virginia, Connecticut, and Florida. I've been in practice for over 10 years. My big specialties is anxiety, grief, and I work with conflict in couples and families. I actually also work actively with couples in doing proactive mental wellness. I'm very big on saying that you don't need to go to therapy or coaching only when you are having trouble. Why not do it when you need some fine-tuning? So one of the goals that I always have when I'm working with my couples is we need to remember and remind ourselves that we are made uniquely, perfectly us. I don't care what Instagram tells you, I don't care what social media tells you, you are exactly who you need to be. And when we do some fine-tuning, like activities like tonight, it gives us a chance to just do better with what we have and what we're able to celebrate. And the last thing I want to say before I get started is just to remind you, this is interactive. I'm going to ask questions, so please feel free to respond, give me some feedback, and we'll enjoy this time together. I wanted to start with just kind of referencing a Bible verse that stood out to me when we were talking about this topic of expressing love. 1 John 3:18 said, "Let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." The beauty of that is that we need to remind ourselves that love is more than words. It requires action. So many times we assume that someone loves us. We assume that it's understood that I love someone else. But how are we expressing it? How are we making sure that they understand that? So when you think about love in your relationship, what comes to mind first? Words? Actions? Something else? Actions?
Actions.
Actions. Everyone's saying actions, huh? No one thinks words? No one's saying I love you, I adore you, anything like that?
Words.
Okay, we got some words over here. And I think that's tying very much into what we were talking about with love languages. When we talk about love languages, to give you just, I'm one who is very big on giving you the information, letting you dissect it, understand it, and then apply it. So I like to first tell who Gary Chapman is. Gary Chapman is the author, he's the speaker, he is the book writer, he is the pastor who created love languages. What he noticed was he started paying attention to patterns when he was talking with his couples at his church. He started noticing that when they were all talking in these different patterns, he started to identify these different types of ways that they show love. The interesting thing is, I like to make sure my clients know that this is not based in science, this is based on his experience, but because so many of us are able to relate to what he found and what he talked about, that's why it has become such a phenomenon. So, when I say the words love language, what word stands out for you? Not a trick question. Love? Okay. Do you know what stands out for me as a therapist?
Language.
Language, exactly. Because when we say the word language, we are talking about learning to speak a tongue that may not be familiar to us. How many of us speak 2 languages here? I do not. That's why I am in admiration of all of you then. When you learned that second language, was it easy? Super simple? Exactly. And when you think about things, are you still thinking in your native tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you learned to speak 2 languages. The reason I'm talking about that specifically, anyone know why? Because when we're talking about love language, we want to learn ours, but we also want to learn to speak the language of our partner. Understanding how you receive love is super helpful, so that way you can communicate and you can tell people how to love you. But understanding how your loved one receives love is equally important, because that way you know you can translate your love into their language and speak to them. We'll go quickly over the 5 love languages again, purely because like I said, I'm big on educating and defining things, but we're talking about words of affirmation, we're talking about acts of service, we're talking about receiving gifts, quality time, and and we all saw the experience of physical touch. When we are talking about words of affirmation, we're talking about verbal encouragement. You got this, keep going. We're talking about appreciation. Thank you. I appreciate how you did this. Thank you for helping me with that. We're saying kind words. You are so sweet. You are so thoughtful. We might write love notes, little messages that are giving words of affirmation. And we do praise. Now, when we're thinking love language, also think about how we are showing our love to others, because I'm going to ask you guys if you're able to identify your own. When we talk about acts of service, we're talking about doing helpful things, picking up the kids, grocery shopping, fixing something that you see needs to get fixed, household chores without being asked. Those are considered acts of service. Receiving gifts, something that's thoughtful. I know my wife likes flowers, but I actually know she likes this particular flower specifically, so let me get that for her. Maybe it's a splurge that your partner has been eyeing, but just wasn't ready to pull the trigger. I'm gonna go ahead and get that for them, because I know that they appreciate it. Maybe it's something you handmade, because you know that they appreciate handmade gifts. Quality time. When I talk about quality time with my clients, the biggest thing I tell them is, it is undivided attention. With a lot of my clients, that means it's a technology-free zone. We're not talking about we're gonna both be on our phones while we're sitting at dinner. We're not gonna go watch a movie where we're still distracted. It is actually one-on-one time where we are spending time together. Last one, physical touch. The thing I like to remind everyone is that as much as physical touch is funny and intimate, the reality is physical touch is non-verbal expression of love. That could be a hug, a kiss on the forehead, holding hands, just touching someone's back to help them, to let them know that you're there. That's showing love. So, of all of these descriptions, does everyone know what love language speaks to them? Do they know how they receive? Do they know how they receive love?
Me too.
I think I lost something. Okay. If you know what your love language is, raise your hand. I got some. Okay. Let me give you some additional hints. If you're feeling down, what type of attention makes you feel better? Like, let's say you're not feeling well. Can you hear me now?
The guy should have it.
Hello? I don't think it's working. If I'm not feeling well, do I want someone to bring me a blanket? Do I want them to just kind of sit in the room with me or while I take a nap? Or do I want them to leave me alone? Kind of steer clear and handle the family business so I can just get better. Another hint that I will give if you're trying to figure out your love language is, how did I receive love from my parents when I was young? I always love telling the story about my mom. She was a hugger. She could not stop hugging you. If it wasn't hugging you, it was pinching your cheeks, it was touching your hands, it was just constantly touching, constantly touching. And it reminded me very clearly that that was what she did to show me love. And here as an adult, I do the same thing. I love showing love, and I love receiving love in the form of a hug, in the form of some type of physical touch, because my mom taught me that. So I'm going to repeat the love languages again, and then as I say them, if that language speaks to you, raise your hand. The languages are words of affirmation. Okay. We've got physical touch. All right. Gift giving or receiving. I like a good gift. Quality time. Yes, a lot of us like quality time. How about acts of service? Can someone get those groceries? Yes, love it. So now here's the trick question. Now that you're starting to figure out what your love language is, what is the love language of your spouse? Anyone know? We've got one who knows. Say that again. Okay, I love that. Okay, we got a couple who seem to know. It's super important that we are discussing expressions of love. Not perception of love, expression of love. So it's important that we actually know what our partner needs to hear when it comes to love. The challenge that we will always see, and I see it in a lot of my clients, is that when a couple is expressing their love language, they're expressing their language to their partner. And unfortunately, the partner doesn't realize it. So they're feeling unloved.
Yeah.
An example I can think of is I have a husband who loves using words of affirmation. Wife, you're doing amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything you do. But she receives love in quality time. So he happens to say this as he's walking out the door. You're doing great. I'll see you soon. I love you. She's feeling alone. Even though he believes he's expressing his love to her, she's still feeling alone. You remember how I commented earlier that understanding how the word language was the thing that stood out to me when we talk about love languages? That is why. I'm fluent in my love language, but do I speak my partner's love language? So, how many of you believe that you speak the same love language as your partner? Nobody, okay. If you do, great, then you don't need to really listen for the rest of this. But for those of you who don't, I want to talk about some of the challenges that come up when we're trying to express that love. First one is miscommunication. We talked about how one partner feels unloved because they don't understand the other one's expression of love. How do we fix that? We fix that by learning what their love language is. And we try to figure out how to answer that question, and we're going to do that tonight. A second challenge that you're going to face when it comes to expressing your love: busy schedules. We've got work, we've got kids, we've got responsibilities, we've got social engagements, we've got church, we've got all these things under the sun. And then I get to see my partner as I'm walking out at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. They know I love them, I told them so. And then I kept going. But is that truly showing how love applies? The answer is probably not. So figuring out how to show small, consistent actions. Again, if I'm learning to speak my partner's language, it's giving me the ability to give them those short bursts of appreciation so they know they are loved. So even though life is busy, I know I've got this covered. The last one, which is my favorite, because I have most of my couples come in with this exact problem: unspoken expectations. If they really love me, they just know. We've been together so long, how have they not figured it out? Guess what? I am still trying to find who knows the art of mind reading, because I have not found it yet. And if you do know someone, please let me know. Otherwise, this is where communication comes in. I hate to tell you, but sometimes we really need to be that plainly spoken. Hey, this is how I receive love. Please show me love in this way. The hope is you're in a committed relationship with someone who genuinely loves you, and they will start learning and growing from that. So here's an activity I want each of you to do right now. I'm going to take a couple minutes, and I want you to just reflect on the past couple weeks. Valentine's Day does not count, just so we're clear. But reflect on the past couple weeks and think about a time your partner showed you love. And I want you to just think about it, and then I want you to be able to share it with your partner. Hey, in the past couple weeks, you showed me love by doing this. Is everyone game? Willing to try? All right, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Go ahead and get started, and I'll call you back in a second. a chance to share? Is anyone willing to volunteer and share what that act of love was that they've noticed in the past couple weeks?
Nigerian, Yoruba.
Go ahead.
So this past week, I know I was angry with him a little bit. I can't even remember what caused the anger. But then, the reason my love language is acts of service. So I would like, for him to do more in the house. And then in the past few days, I come to the kitchen, the plates are washed. Normally I would bring laundry upstairs and I would say, okay, I did the laundry, can you put out the clothes? And he would say, that's your job. And then this past week, I took the laundry from the laundry room, put it in the room. And before I came back upstairs, it was folded, even this morning. And then I wrote, and by Friday morning, I got up early to take the kids to school and prepared it, and I saw he had seasoned it and done everything.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share?
In the past couple of weeks, it's been a roller coaster. I was getting ready to finish my master's and I had a glitch, and I spoke to him about it, and I was kind of scared. I wasn't sure if I was going to, finish the program, and he was like, he just kept encouraging me. He was like, you got this, things are going to work out. Don't worry, just believe with me and we pray together. I mean, he was just there at my very low time. And to the glory of God, everything worked out fine. And I'm so grateful that I have him in my life.
Amazing. Can anyone identify what that love language was that he was showing her? Yes, yes, very good. So, anyone else? Got time for one more. Okay. You might need to just speak really loudly. Oh, he's got it.
My wife has been going through something for a while, and it's been hurting me, and about 2 weeks ago, she actually managed to come back from work and just came by my bedside and said, look, I know what I'm going through is I'm sorry. And then she hugged me right on the bed, and I said, this is what I wanted. She went to someone again. I said, please thank my husband for me. And I just felt, okay, this is enough to do a lot for me.
Amazing, I love it. What love languages did we see there? I think we saw two. We heard physical touch. What was the other one? Words of affirmation. The beautiful thing is we're noticing that love is being shown in many different ways. The challenge I have for each of you is to, and then talk about application. Because now it's going to start sticking. The other thing I really want to have kind of reinforced for all of you is recognize that if this is not my main language, and I speak a different language, it's okay to start learning it. Because the person I love is worth it. For me, I am originally from Philadelphia, go Birds, and I am someone who's very sarcastic. I don't do a lot of good work with words of affirmation. So when I'm showing love to my loved ones, it's usually making fun of them, but I hug them. I am actively learning to practice using words of affirmation because I know people I love value it. I'm terrible. I'm going to tell you this now. I'm terrible. But I am determined to learn that language because I want the people I love to understand that I love them in their language. I wanted to close with one more Bible verse for you, Ephesians 5:25. I'm sure you've heard it tonight, if not frequently. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. You got to remind yourself that showing love is sacrificial, it's intentional, and it's ongoing. We need to work to show our loved ones how we love them, and we need to do it frequently. Also remember, love is not about big gestures. It's those daily moments. Finding that space in the busy, hectic day so we can actually make sure our loved ones know they're loved. The reality is, the more intentional we are, the stronger our relationship is going to be. Thank you all very much.